Education and schooling traditions are wildly different in various parts of the world. What is perfectly normal in the UK may be completely unheard of in Germany, and the rules commonly found in the Japanese education system are certainly not usual in the USA. Japanese schools are notoriously strict and much more standardized than many schools in Western countries. Nonetheless, they also net the kind of results that we in the West envy and desire to replicate. There are definitely some rules that you will find hard to believe. The question is, do they contribute to the resounding success of Japan's education system? Here are the 12 Japanese school rules you won't believe actually exist. Konchoing the teacher. The word koncho in itself is a slang version of the word used to denote a medical enema, but refers to a children's game, believe it or not. Konchoing is more of a tradition than a rule, but it's definitely something to be aware of if you plan to teach English in Japan. Konchoing is a silly prank where someone presses their two hands together with their index fingers extended in order to prod someone, sometimes the teacher, in the behind. At this point, the student will usually exclaim, "Koncho!" As you can imagine, many people find this to be a shock when they visit Japan to teach. The Western view of Japan as a very serious and studious country is not so close to the truth as some of these rules would have you believe. No accessories. As you will soon find out, there is often a strict dress code in Japanese schools, but there is also a rule against using accessories to change your appearance. Students are prohibited from using colored contact lenses, dyeing their hair, and having unusual piercings. In fact, some schools even ban the painting of nails and the grooming of eyebrows. Furthermore, this rule holds while they are traveling to and from school in order to protect the representation of the school to the wide public. Can you imagine how this would go down in the fiercely independent student bodies of the US and Canada? Students are prohibited from dating and having open relationships. Japan takes the education of its youngsters very seriously and brooks no distraction, even from other students. In junior high school in particular, this is a view which is enforced with regulation. Junior high students are not allowed to date romantically or enter into an open relationship at all. This is to ensure that students are focused entirely on their education rather than personal drama. Considering how much Western fiction depends on high school drama, it's difficult to fathom, right? Cell phones are not allowed to be used inside the school. The theme of education first is one that can be seen in all Japanese school rules. As such, you probably won't be surprised to learn that cell phones are also prohibited during lessons. However, you might be shocked to learn that they are not allowed to be used anywhere in the building at all at any time. That's right, Japanese school children are only allowed to use their phones outside the building before and after school as well as during their breaks, but never within the confines of the school itself. Strict dress code. Only 20% of schools in the USA have a dress code, and they are usually private schools. But in Japan, almost all schools from junior high level upwards have a strict uniform to which students must adhere. In middle schools, there is still a heavy focus on the traditional high-collared military-style suit for boys, and the B-ribbon sailor blouse and pleated skirt as seen in anime style for girls. In high schools, however, the uniform is slowly becoming more akin to those seen in the West. Tartan skirts, blouses, blazers, and ties can be seen in most schools with older students. Most shocking, however, is the strict no ornamentation policy that many Japanese schools have. In many cases, jewelry, makeup, and unusual hairstyles are prohibited, and students are not allowed to alter their uniform in any way, even outside school hours. In fact, there are some schools which also specify what the outerwear going over uniforms must look like. In many cases, the jackets must be navy, tan, black, or gray only, no bright colors. Furthermore, children must always be seen as neat and tidy while traveling to and from school. Punctuality. Good timekeeping is a focus in pretty much all schooling systems, of course, but in Japan, it is taken very seriously. Children are expected to be in school at 8:30 a.m. on the button, and if they are more than 5 minutes late, you can be sure they will be punished to a certain degree. The most common punishment is being required to come into school even earlier for cleaning duties for the rest of that week. This is to instill good timekeeping and an understanding of the value of time as a resource. We guess those stereotypes about Japanese punctuality aren't just rumors, it's behavior instilled at a young age. Respectful greetings. Japanese culture is one which focuses heavily on respect. Respect for authority figures and elders as well as each other is a key part of this for school children. As such, Japanese school children greet their teachers with a bow at the beginning of their lessons and say goodbye in the same manner. This shows the teacher respect and gratitude for their hard work in providing an education. The Sasumata. American school children will no doubt be familiar with intruder drills, but in Japan, they take matters one step further by ensuring that there is something on hand to defend against violent intruders. The Sasumata is an adaptation of the ancient samurai weapon. This aluminum pole has two curved prongs at one end and is designed to immobilize an intruder. One of these can be found hanging in schools across Japan. This is interesting because Japan is a very safe country. The likelihood of such an attack is much lower than, for example, in Europe. No substitutes. Can you imagine leaving a classroom full of American junior high students unattended for a full period? Sounds like every teacher's worst nightmare, right? Well, in Japan, this is commonplace. If a teacher is sick, it is very much the norm for no substitute to be called. The students are trusted to study quietly, independently, and responsibly by themselves. Once you consider how their summer vacation works, we suppose it's not that surprising after all. Mandatory swimming lessons. Japan is an island nation after all. Not only is swimming a part of the curriculum in Japan, but most schools actually have their own swimming pool to use. Students will swim as part of their weekly education and are required to learn how to swim a minimum distance. If they fail to meet this requirement, they need to take swimming classes in the summer to make up for it. Health and fitness are considered just as important as studying in Japan. No janitors. Part of the culture of respect instilled in Japanese children includes caring for their surroundings and taking responsibility for their actions. This is why you won't find janitors in any Japanese schools. The children and teachers are responsible for cleaning, dusting, sweeping, and mopping their classrooms, hallways, and even scrubbing the bathrooms. We bet you won't find Japanese kids putting gum under their tables or writing on their desks. They know they'll only have to clean it up later on. Summer bummer. Perhaps the biggest difference between Japanese and American schools, however, is the way summer vacation is structured. First and foremost, the vacation is only 5 weeks long. That's just half the length of summer vacation in the USA. Japanese students are also more likely to receive a lot of homework to do over the summer. Even elementary schools have a legendary homework packet to work through during summer. Furthermore, despite being out for the summer, most Japanese students and teachers will come into school on an almost daily basis for extracurricular clubs and activities. Some might see this as a bit of a bummer, but these clubs can actually be a great way in which to spend time with a wider friend group during the summer months. So, as you can see, the schooling system in Japan differs hugely from the systems we are used to in the West. Yet, the latest OECD global rankings for math and science place Japanese high schools in 4th place, while schools in the USA have slipped all the way to 28th. This could be a sign that the Japanese system is much more effective than we give it credit for. Perhaps American schools should also consider having swimming-centric lessons included in their teaching